Good evening, fresh from the jungles of Vietnam and the shores of Tripoli. It is the Thursday night podcast. ASTV if you're one of the cool kids like us. It's the usual crew, myself, Macka, Trevor, and Brian. Trevor, how are you?
Doing all right. A little froggy in the throat, but other than that, doing pretty damn good after today.
Brian, which amphibian do you have in your throat for this week?
I have either a toad or a salamander. I'm not really sure. Something that just keeps on making my nose run for like the past week.
That sounds like a salamander. That's salamander behavior.
I have Jason Momoa in mine. Aquaman joke. We'll get in there early. But today we're going to talk about, we are the post-match show for the LASK game in the Europa League. 4-0 win. Basically, essentially a procession, almost a friendly. A very relaxed game from the boys. There wasn't too much threat, but Kelleher did have to pull off one or two reasonably decent saves. Probably could have had more. It was one of those games where if we had the full team firing on all cylinders, the people at LASK club would probably be in therapy for the next few weeks. But we didn't. We had the reserves and the mysterious Connor Bradley, who does exist and is not a figment of anybody's imagination or a paper player for some sort of money laundering scheme. He actually exists. He was on the pitch and he didn't do too bad. But in terms of the overall, I think that qualified us at least in second place, that result. So
we're top of the group.
Yeah, top. We are in Europe after the Christmas, which is what we wanted to be. Brian, what did you think of the game?
I mean, I thought that we actually, I can say like you said right there, we had a lot of good opportunities that we should have easily scored probably 5 or 6 goals in this match. I mean, we had a lot of possession through there. I think that we basically were on top of the match, and we kind of took our foot off the match, probably about in the middle of the second half, and then we had to get Keller in there to basically make multiple saves and all that. So we had a good 15-20 minute spell where we were just kind of behind the curve a little bit right there. But at that point, we were already 3-0 up, and it didn't make a difference. So hey, we're already through the next round. Play the kids next week, in 2 weeks. Play every single kid you got out there. Play the U18s.
Trevor, what did you think of the game? And was it just one of those games where we probably could have even played 8 players and still came out with a result?
Yeah, there was a lot of feelings. Just looking at the highlights where there's moments where you kind of just start to feel pity. Because there was nothing until what Brian talks about, the one big Kelleher save. It was if this was like a 5-minute video, it was 4 minutes and 58 seconds of Liverpool highlights and 2 seconds of LASK highlights. And I think that was a proper display of what the game was. It was something where like Gakpo afterwards was saying we probably could have scored double that. And I think we're going to talk pretty shortly about one of those guys that could have really added to the cause and once again did not.
Before we go, let's look at the agenda for tonight. We're going to talk about the game, obviously, the LASK game. We are going to talk about Darwin. So if you're cozy and you're watching, this is your chance to get all your anger out. We'll talk about the Fulham game at the weekend, and we'll end with Macka's moral dilemma. But let's start, before we get to the second topic, let's start with the observation I had, which was one of them, obviously. I had more than one observation. It was a good day. I'd eaten before the game. I was full of energy and sugar. But Endo did quite well in that kind of quiet way that you want your number 6 to play. He was, I mean, it wasn't a great opponent by any stretch, but he was tidy, he blocked the channels, and he was always available for a simple out ball if needed from the back 4. Brian, is that something that sometimes we might miss when we have McAllister in there, who has a lot of qualities, but maybe being a definitive number 6 is not one of them?
Yeah, I think this is probably we go off for the Monday podcast because this is part of the same exact conversation about McAllister. McAllister's not a number 6. I mean, and expecting him to be a number 6 is kind of a knock on the talent that he has. I think the Endo right there has age experience right there playing in that position. He knows what position, how to go there to communicate right there from age. I mean, there may be a little bit of a language barrier, but as a playing style, as a 30-year-old, against with a group right there, you could organize. And I think that's something that we definitely have missed right there. I mean, I think even with the last season right there with Fabinho, even we had some times where you're like, okay, well, Fabinho's missing. Fabinho's not doing this. You still had that same old head in back there that could actually go in and you can rely on. And I think that McAllister being playing out of position, you don't get that same exact effect.
Trevor, what do you think? Was there something a little bit different about the structure? I mean, it wasn't the first team, so it did need a bit of organization. But did Endo give us something that we maybe have been crying out for in some of the games? Or is it still the case that regardless of that tactical function, McAllister is still the better player and you'd still want him in there, even if he's not entirely suited to the position?
I think for like a game like this, the fact that we're able to give Endo that much of a run, and talking from a perspective of a person that only watched this game through the highlights, the fact that Endo was not on any of the highlights is a good thing in my eyes, because it means he didn't go into flying into a rash tackle and get sent off. He didn't make a bad pass that led to a goal scoring opportunity for the other team. He was just a steady Eddie in the midfield. Like you guys said, he was kind of like that fulcrum to get a couple times where it seemed, just trying to like read stuff about it to kind of get context around the video, there was a couple times where they kind of had to bail themselves out of jail with a bad pass, and then he would just go to the ball, which, yeah, that doesn't always have to mean he has to immediately then fling the ball upfield and it leads to attack. Sometimes it's just getting somebody out of trouble and then you finding somebody that can do that. And if he's just going to be that steady presence, especially in games where we can just give McAllister an entire game off, I don't know what more we can ask from the guy.
I just want to say a big hello to Alan there, and just if he's wondering, just if you're wondering, Alan, that'll answer your question before you have to answer it or ask it rather. But what in terms of one unsung hero, so to speak, we move on to another one. Brian Tsimikas, or Timikas as he was called in the CBS feed. So another player we have to figure out the name of. Thanks very much. But he did a very steady job today. He was available. He got some crosses in. He did his defending job again against opposition that weren't going to entirely threaten him. But it was a good sign to see that he could actually do a job at that level of opposition, which means that we're not always going to miss Robertson, at least for the, let's call them the ham and egg games, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Tsimikas cross, actually set up one of our goals. So, I mean, I'm good with Tsimikas there. But, of course, he does go missing in some matches. But I think for this opposition we went against, he was perfect. I mean, he came there and did put in a good shift. So I thought he did all
right. Trevor, what did you think of Tsimikas' performance in that one? Was it something that we want to see more of, or is it something that we should be expecting all the time? Or was it, as I said, it's a perfect replacement for Andy Robertson in certain games, but we still would like Robbo for a particular type of game?
Yeah. It's good to have that second wave of guys that you can put in and not feel that there's going to be that sense of trepidation of, okay, maybe this is a step down game. This is a Europa League. This is a League Cup. But we can run these guys out and save our main guns' legs and not have to worry about embarrassing ourselves and giving up 3 goals to LASK because we have people in the second unit that can't really do it. I think Tsimikas is just building that confidence back that he nearly had fully eroded about a month ago. And I think because when Robertson's going to be back in the new year, right? Not at the end of December.
Yeah, he has to get drunk. He has to get drunk on New Year's Eve and sing his Auld Lang Syne before he's allowed back onto the team.
Yeah. Then yeah, if we can get through this congested fixture thing with Simicast playing, I'll take a 6 or 6 out of 10 most days. That would be perfectly fine for me.
You know, one other player that impressed me just with his composure, we've spoken about this before, and with that word composure, it was Kwanzaa. It's weird to see a different defensive set, but it was Kanate and Kwanzaa at the beginning, I think, before Kanate came off. But he did not look out of place, Brian, did he? He just continues to impress with his maturity more than anything else. And his hair. His hair is beautiful.
I mean, I hate to come to make the comparison, but he's got a Rio Ferdinand kind of feel to him. I mean, I'm very impressed with his composure and how he plays outside of his age group. I don't want to curse anybody with comparing him to what would be considered a world-class defender, but I mean, for a kid right there, he's a potential of saving us millions of pounds.
Trevor, what do you think? Is he a flash in the pan that's just happened to have a good run of games against lower end teams, or is he someone that next season we might be looking to challenge for a starting place properly?
Yeah, I think he's somebody that's really going to light a fire under Kanate more than anything, because he's that guy where I don't think we're ready to kind of just displace Verge just yet. But Kanate is that guy that really needs to just – now he has this to kind of keep him really worried – not necessarily worrying, but kind of focusing on being fit, because now if you aren't fit, you may get Wally Pitt by this guy, and then Kwanzaa just becomes the second center back going forward, because it's something that you see with defenders all the time. Young defenders, they get victimized, and then it just absolutely shatters their confidence. Every time I've seen
that's because he's fault.
Yeah. Every time I've seen this kid get burned, and that's not very often while he's playing, it's goldfish memory. He's immediately, next time it comes down the field, he's not trying to I gotta be 3 steps by because this guy got by me last time. He just takes his, all right, this guy got by me last time. I'm gonna make the adjustment so it doesn't happen again. And he usually does. And for somebody at his age or with a lack of experience at this level to kind of come in and be shoehorned into that spot, I wish nothing for the best, and I hope that he can just stay in the good graces and not have that one game that kind of this is he did all this against LASK, or he did all this against Brentford or wherever, and then he has a bad moment against a big team, and then it's I can't trust this kid anymore. I just hope that doesn't happen, so we can have that proper competition behind Verge in the center back pecking order.
Just to kind of end the praise section of this match review, Brian, 2 more players who were impressive, I thought. One wasn't called on to do much. We've talked about him already, but Caoimhín Kelleher. And I said that correctly, by the way, because he's from my country and I know how to say his first name. Caoimhín Kelleher pulled out. He wasn't called on to do much, but the mark of a great goalkeeper is that when they are called on to do something, they do produce the goods. And then Cody Gakpo was just, I thought he was almost more of a fulcrum than creative fulcrum than Salah was, and it was nice to see him get his goals. Did those 2 players impress you as much as they impressed me?
I mean, I really think that this is probably Gakpo's best match I've seen him play. I mean, honestly, and that's saying a lot. I mean, with him, of course, consider the opposition you played against right there, but I think that Gakpo was pretty complete in that match. Keller, I mean, honestly, I think that this is this run of matches that are going to come up for Keller is going to be what's going to make him his next move, because I really think that we're holding it all. Holding a keeper like Keller back at the moment because the age, I mean, just because of the age group right there between him and Allison. I mean, Allie's got more years ahead of him right there. I don't think that I think we're going to be ruining Kelleher's chance to go out there and make a name for himself. And I think that that this may be our last good stretch right there of Kelleher before he moves on.
Trevor, in terms of Kelleher, sometimes he has come in for a minor criticism, but I was thinking like one way to maybe judge him was if you had to, would you allow him to move to any of our rivals? Are we that confident in his abilities that we wouldn't want him to move to a City or a Chelsea or Spurs or United? Or is there just not enough there that we wouldn't mind if he left there because we know we've got the best out of him?
I'm always very wary about somebody going in that direction. Yeah, go make your name at Wolves or something. I don't want to see go that route. But back to Gakpo. I really think that he's a guy that needs more games like this where, and everybody goes, well, it's the opposition. Sometimes you just need those games where these guys can just pace the team, and he did everything up front. He came back and got the ball and started attacks. He was at the end of it. He had a very nice goal. He had a tap in. He kind of ticked all the boxes, and it doesn't matter who it comes against. When you have a game like that, it's going to do nothing but give you that impetus the next time you're out there, whether it be in a starting role or off the bench. Be like, look what I did last time. I can try to replicate that. And I really think that Gakpo just needed, not necessarily that he's having a bad season, but he was kind of just middling and not really having a set role. And a game like this can also tell Klopp, because of who we're about to talk, hey, maybe this guy is worthy of a couple more starts here and there because this is what he can provide.
So let's move on then from the praise to the punishment. Let's talk about Darwin Nunez. I think we can all say we love his chaos that he brings. His work rate is improved. His understanding of the pressing game for us has improved. But he's a goal scorer on paper. That's what his job is supposed to be. And he consistently fluffs his lines on the easiest of chances. We give him the complicated ones where he has to arrow a ball through 10 players has to swerve left and right twice, and he'll do it. But put him one-on-one with the goalkeeper in front of the goal or with an open goal almost, and he just doesn't do the job consistently enough. Is because of the way this team is being constructed, Brian, it's a newish team, a youngish team. Is it worth persevering with those for another year or two, maybe? Or do you think the boffins in the scouting department are already thinking we need to get somebody who can put the ball in the net more consistently?
I think if we would have paid that much money for Nunez, we probably wouldn't even have this conversation. I think that's a lot of it right there is about the price tag that he had on his head right there for bringing him in here. Yeah, he should be going there popping these goals in, but there's I've seen other things like that. We could have said the same thing about Bobby Firmino a couple of years ago also. I mean, when everybody's very, very critical of Bobby. But I think that I'm pretty critical of these easy chances also, like everybody else is. And I mean, I see the difficult things, but I do see things like his actually off-ball play with Mo. I mean, it's been really, really nice to watch and all that. But again, like you said, at the end of the day, he signed up to do one thing, to score goals. And I think that if we were to go, I'm going to go with the Kazi Matt row right here. Gakpo's a more complete forward than Darwin Nunez.
Trevor, just before I go, that Michael Noonan comment there. Michael, he's one of the best coaches in Ireland, and fair play to him for commenting. He's also a good red, as all the best people in the world are. And everybody who isn't a good Liverpool fan probably needs to pay more taxes so we can pay less. But Trevor, Darwin Nunez, Gakpo, it's a dilemma really, isn't it? Because one is showing what we paid the money for, and the other one is only showing a portion of what we've paid the money for. But Are expectations too much on Darwin Nunez? Maybe because of the price tag, but also because of the trio that came before him with Mane and Firmino and Salah and how productive they were. Or can we expect a little bit more from a player that is part of a team that's not looking to develop? We're not Chelsea under Pochettino. We're Liverpool under Klopp. And we're looking to challenge for the league and challenge for a European trophy and challenging for an FA Cup. And to do that, you need your goal scorers to be scoring goals when the chances present themselves, don't you?
Yeah, and that, I think we've come under a certain amount of criticism on Thursdays for being the Darwin hit squad, and it's something where it's
as long as I can be Hannibal Smith, I'll be anybody's hit squad.
It's the one thing we've lauded him for, how he's become much better at pressing, how good he's great linking up with Mo, how he's not being as combustible, his blow up with Pep aside, and he's more under control. It's just the sitters. That's it. And that as a goal scorer, those are the ones that you should be reveling in, the ones that you have nobody in front of you, and it's just maddening how he can't do it. I don't know if it's a mental block. I don't know if he's just the world's most trolly footballer and he's doing it on fucking purpose. I don't know. There's no logical explanation behind it, where like you said, hit the matchbook in the top right corner from the fucking corner flag. Yet you have the goalie got taken out by a sniper in the 7th row, and the goal is completely open, and you hit the post. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. I'm just gonna stop, because any explanation from here is just either the ramblings of a madman or nonsense. So I'm just going to get out while I can. Just make your sitters, Darwin, please. We don't like having these conversations. We want to yell at people that are bad.
Brian, on that note, let's just as a comparison, because I think Trevor's right. He does do a lot of good things, but the goal scoring thing is the one, maybe that's the downfall of him. But let's compare him to, say, Harry Kane, who does better goal scoring, and he's flying in Germany right now for Bayern Munich, but he doesn't do maybe half as much as any of our strikers do in terms of, working the tactics on the pitch, etc. He is essentially a goal poacher. What would you rather have? Would you rather have a Darwin Nunez who doesn't do all the other stuff, but consistently puts a goal in the net every 2 games, but knowing full well that that's going to impact how we press teams, so it might damage the defensive phase? Or would you rather have Darwin Nunez as he is now, with the potential that if he did fix that goal scoring part, we would have a player as lauded as Kylian Mbappe?
I'd probably have to go to the second, honestly. I think that, that as I think you have to live with the potential of he's a young player still. I mean, with it, I think that with our system right there, you have to have certain pieces that work together. And I think that having somebody like Harry Kane right there, whose sole purpose right there is just to go and score goals right there, but not press and stuff like that, it'd be really detrimental to our side. I don't think that we would be able to play the way we play. I mean, I think that Nunez is starting to get that. I mean, there's some moments where I'm like, okay, have you got this? But there's a lot of moments where I see him where he's assimilated very well with that with Mo, and I think that's something that that we were looking for and hoping that we would get again and all that. But I think that, I mean, honestly, definitely the second one. I think that we have a couple of years that we can actually say with Nunez that, get these middle shit straight. I mean, score open fucking goals, like Trevor said. I mean, it's all you have to do is score these things, and nobody's gonna bother you. Nobody's gonna go out there and be on your ass and stuff like that. Score simple shit. I mean, this is all. And if you can score worldies, you can score in a fucking open net.
Trevor, do you agree with Brian's assessment, or would you take the near guaranteed goals of a Harry Kane, but all of the flaws that comes with being Harry Kane, especially the stupidity?
Yeah. I think with while Mo's still here, I can take the frustration because you're always going to have that guy that kind of has. And Mo has had his moments the past couple of years too, where he had ones on the plate that he misses almost as bad as Darwin does. But it just seems to be happening with such frequency with Nunez, where it's really more under the microscope. And if by hook or by crook, Mo does leave in the summer, I'm going to be very not as forgiving with the missed open nets. That's and yeah, everybody's all right. I'm just gonna make this a soundbite. We don't hate Darwin Nunez. We hate that he misses sitters. That's it. That's the blanket fucking statement right there. There's nothing else to
Thursday
be said.
podcast.
That's it. That's
I'm just I hate his hairstyle though, to be fair. And on the morning show, when I was on the morning show with Tamuch, and yeah, exactly. Yeah. But in the morning show, I used to say that when Salah was having a bad patch, it was because of the frosted tips in his hair. And as soon as they went, he started scoring again. Philippe Coutinho, he cut his hair, he stopped scoring, he grew back into those curls, he started scoring again. So I reckon if Darwin Nunez gets rid of the stupid Andy Carroll ponytail,
let's just give him a perm and he'll be good.
Yeah, what it is that he doesn't have the head balance. That's what it is.
Yeah,
his hair is pulled too tightly back. That's affecting his eyesight. So when he's that close to the goal, he can't see where it is, and that's why he misses. I think that's what my theory is. So if he just shaves it all off, goes for a full Vinnie Jones type hairstyle, he's probably scoring a hat trick a game. That's what going to be my assessment of Darwin Nunez, and for that reason, we should keep him because I don't want Harry Kane anywhere near the club. There's not enough tissue for all that mucus that's going to pour out of his nose, and that we already have slipping problems on Anfield turf as it is. So let's move on from Darwin, who we do love. Let's everybody understand that we do love Darwin.
That'll be the next ticker. We have the plant one right now for Alan, and the next one is just disclaimer: we do not hate Darwin Nunez. Yeah,
we just
we'll see if we get the emoji in there.
We just hate his eyesight and his hairstyle. Yes. But let's look ahead because what should happen on the weekend, it doesn't happen because it's all on paper, and the reality is often different. But we're playing Fulham, and that should be another game much like the last game today, in the sense that they're not offering us on paper a huge challenge, Brian. It's going to be with the first teamers, whoever's available and fit to play. But obviously with Kelleher in goal, with no Jota, I believe, and no Robertson. But we should have enough to take care of Fulham. Are we going to suffer a hangover in this game from Europe, or did Klopp play a blinder in having all of those second string and kids play, so that the regular starters are going to be looking at that and going, well, they got 4 goals against the team at that level. We need to go 1 or 2 better.
I think we got fresh legs, which is something that we need to have right there, especially with between McAllister, Slabazai, and also come there deal with Verge. We got these guys to get some time on it because they played in this past couple of months. I mean, it's starting to come there and wear down on these guys. I mean, I can really say that Ali's injury is due to how many match time that he's played. You know, why we had a hamstring injury, because that's usually what happens with these guys. So I think that let these guys go there and get that break, and then come back in. I mean, I don't think Fulham are going to be easy, because Fulham haven't been that easy, even though they're where they're at now. But I do think that we have enough to go there to put them to the sword.
Trevor, what do you think? Is it a potential banana skin, or will there be cottage cheese all over their cottaging faces? That's an in-joke for the Brits. At the end of the game on Sunday, or will this be one of these ones where the post-match is just going to be us swearing blindly? at the screen and at everybody because we got a 1-1 draw because we something happened in the game. But it should be like the last game, really, shouldn't it? It should be relatively comfortable. Maybe we might concede one, but we should be putting a few past them, shouldn't we?
Yeah, and I think the fact that it's at home is really important because I'm trying to get the exact figures right now, but I don't think Fulham is the strongest team away from home, and that's something that I think we need to put more teams to the sword for that reason. If like you have poor away form, we can't play down and be like, you know what, let's just only put one by you today, make you guys feel better, get those pundits in your neck of the woods off your back. No, you gotta go pump these teams. You gotta go put 4 past Jay Leno and really just make them really think twice about their life choices. I don't know. Fulham it's always going to be that thing where they score weird goals against us, but outside of that one draw, it's never been something where they've felt dangerous. But it's a game that always feels like it should be because you're just going, well, Fulham. No one really talks about Fulham because they're in the relegation battle for about 5 minutes. They're never near the European places for more than like a minute. And they're just kind of there. And you forget until you stub your toe on that table that you forgot was in that one room that you never go in. That's Fulham. They're the table in the room you never go in.
Brian, just kind of to piggyback off the last part of the show, we would have to say that the starting lineup up front should really be Diaz, Gakpo, and Salah, shouldn't it? Like Nunez shouldn't be anywhere but the bench to start this game, shouldn't he?
Oh, I agree totally. I think that Gakpo earned his starting position tonight. I think that he definitely does. I mean, I think that front line should be Diaz, Gakpo, and Mo. I mean, I think that if you have that time right there where Gakpo shows a little bit of tiredness, all that, like about the 60, the classic 60 to 70 minute Klopp move, like actually go there, go with substitution. Then I go there and bring Darwin on. But other than that, nah, Darwin needs to be on the bench.
Trevor, do we put Trent Alexander-Arnold back, do you think, in the right back stroke ghost phantom number 6 position? Or I think he played actually in the midfield when by the end of the game, like he was like an out-and-out midfielder. Do you think that might be the experiment for this game? Or will we just do the traditional thing? Klopp's not really one to make those kind of, Brendan Rodgers-like weird tactical calls, like playing a 17-year-old at centre-back just for a laugh against Manchester City. But I don't think he ever did that, but he would do that. He met the Pope this week as well, by the way. Like that was, it's always a good thing to see like an iconic world figure meet their hero, and it was good to see Pope Francis finally meet Brendan Rodgers at the Vatican.
The picture of him holding the jersey that he was handing to the Pope, it was looking like he was not knowing where the clothesline was to like put his clothes out. And he almost like blocked the Pope with the jersey because he was just holding it so awkwardly and trying to like remember how to smile. It was.
But don't forget what he said once. Sometimes the Celtic shirt is just too big for some people. Maybe that's what it is. He's poison on it. But
by people, he meant the Pope.
But he meant the Pope. It was a great soccer fan apparently, so that's always a good thing in a Pope. But yeah, the question is, does Trent go back to that? Do we go back to that hybrid role that he plays, or do we do something a bit weird? Do you think Klopp is going to put him straight in as the number 6, and dispense with Endo and McAllister in those roles, or is it going to be business as usual and then leaving those gaps that we have complained about in post-match reactions, where the other team knows the space is going to be there and they're going to exploit it?
Yeah, I think in the league against Fulham, it's going to be that. It's going to be that bone of contention that we're going to have every week, and we're just going to have to deal with it. I don't think unless this mythical Andre purchase happens in January, we're going to see anything different this year at least.
It's Andre the Giant. That we've been getting it wrong. That's who they're buying. They're going to buy Andre, the skeleton of Andre the Giant. Because at least they won't get injured.
Be blessed by this time. He's been dead for like 30 years.
There was a lot of him, to be fair.
That's true. They still have some of the 107 beers that he drank in one thing in his casket. You're gonna get one of those old like Schlitz beers, and that's gonna play right back.
Yeah, you fit right in. We just paying on alcohol. But Brian, in terms of the lineup, the setup, obviously Jabo goes back in, I would imagine. But who goes in the midfield? Let's say it's him and McAllister. Let's say it's Gakpo up front. Who's that third midfield spot? Is it back to Elliott? Has he done enough? Or will it be Jones? Or is there something else up the sleeve?
I went Gravenberg. I'd actually prefer Gravenberg in there. That's kind of a thing I brought up in the Monday podcast. I think that we're missing with Trent, because kind of back to the Trent subject. I think that Trent relied a lot on Hendo being in that position where he was at. And I think that that Gravenberg could actually provide that same exact kind of role that Hendo had, and I think that we could get the best out of Trent again. Because I mean, if you look back on our championship run and also our European Cup runs, I mean, Hendo was dominant on that side right there. He came there and he held his own to that and on that right side. And I think that, even though we've got Slabo over there, I don't think he's the right person to be on that side. I mean, I think that Slabo is probably more of a classic number 8, and I think that we need to kind of rethink that midfield a little bit. I mean, and having Gravenberg over there as that kind of like a, it's kind of like a weird, that role that Hendo had in there. I think that we could get a lot better out of him. But I do think that that Slabo has, I think he needed this time off right there, because I think he tries way too much to go there, make things happen, and they don't happen, and he keeps on doing it, like shooting outside the damn box every fucking time. I mean, it's like it's enough to where everybody is like just stop, please. I mean, but I think McAllister definitely should go back in. I think that McAllister in that, again, put him back in that number 6 role is just not really doing it for me right there. I mean, I would even keep Endo in there before I go there and put McAllister back there in that 6 role again. I think that we're just he's a stopgap. I mean, more a stopgap than Endo's a stopgap. But I think that Elliott right there, I mean, Elliott's still, to me, a bench player. I mean, I think that he's because of his impact coming in the second half is actually more than what he does, and actually he plays the entire match.
Trevor, at the back, Matip or Konate, or a shock Kwanzaa start?
I think it's got to be Matip, but if I'm bringing a center back off the bench, I'm going with Kwanzaa, because he showed me more today than Konate did, and I think if we're up 3-0 on Fulham, and you kind of want to close things out and almost. Kwanzaa's the one to more solidify things than Konate if you're going to save Joel Matip at the end of a game. So, yeah, I'd go Matip just because I don't think he's done anything to lose his place. And, yeah, Kwanzaa first, center back off the bench.
Brian, is it possible that Konate has – we had so much hope for him, and he has been injured a lot. Is it possible that the fact that Kwanzaa is almost now a better option than him due to the fact that he put on a ton of weight on his arse when he was doing his physiotherapy, and he's also off balance like Darwin Nunez is?
Can Konate come to stay fit for 3 matches? That's what I just want to know. I mean, I've yet to see it. I mean, it seems like every time he'll play one match, then he'll go a partial of the second match, and then he's out hurt again. I mean, I at one point right there, what do you do? I mean, it's like, but then he goes and plays with the French squad. I mean, and then he comes back and he's hurt again. I mean, it's just a constant cycle we've had now since he's been here. I mean, I keep Matip in there before I go there and go into having Konate in there, and I'm also like what Trevor said right there. I put Kwanzaa in right there before because I don't have the faith. I don't have the faith in what he offers. I mean, we all jumped in and thought that he was going to be the next that next saving grace in that back line. I just don't see it anymore.
Before we go to the score predictions for the weekend, just another reminder for Alan and anybody else who's interested. Just to say, Trevor asking, this is like Trevor's public relations here, so he doesn't have to answer any more questions about the plan.
All we need is like the
we need the alert sound. But Trevor, what is your honest? Not that you're lying every other week, but what would you really looking at the two teams, the form that both teams are in, and the way the team played today, and the key players that may be playing again on Sunday? What is your score prediction?
I'm going to say 3-1, and the one's going to come from a penalty because we haven't given up a penalty in a while, and I think that's just too good of a run to keep going. 3-1 good, guys.
Brian?
I'm with Trevor right there with the classic Tamushin prediction, 3-1.
I gotta go at 5-0. I think we'll go one better than LASK because the gauntlet has been thrown down. So just remains before we do our little pleas for people to follow us. The Macka's moral dilemma for this week, the renamed threshold question. So here's the question: John Henry comes out tomorrow. You guys are, for some weird reason, you've been put in charge of Liverpool for tomorrow. I hope you get enough sleep for it with the time difference. But John Henry says the club's going to go under. We have to sell one player. Which player of the two that he gives you to sell would you sell tomorrow? Would it be Mo Salah or Alisson Becker? Trevor.
God. Yeah. It's got to be Mo, because Alisson is just I come from the school of thought that you can, as much as it's not the case, that you can go find goal scorers, you can goal score by committee. You can't really goal keep by committee. This isn't hockey where you can ride the hot hand. If you have a keeper that stinks, you're pretty much banged on to stink. You can't mask the fact that you have a shitty keeper. And I think we're going to kind of
David James.
Man, you beat me to it.
That's because your signal is delayed.
You actually did say it like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, we're going to hear it next week.
But yeah, I think to the success of this team, probably going to lose Mo anyways, if we're being completely fucking honest. But yeah, Alisson, I think, is the more necessary component. I'm not as fearful that Mo is going to AFCON. I am absolutely shitting a brick for this next month, or however many games Alisson's out. I
think.
Yeah, not super comfortable. Happy that some of these fixtures are incredibly winnable and should be fine with him out, but it's not that I distrust Kelleher. It's just one of those things where when you have the A, the C just doesn't feel that great.
So it's like when you have Ruffles from Big Y, or you have Raffles from Aldi. They're probably the same shit, more or less, but you just don't trust that misspelling.
Yeah,
that's what you mean, isn't it?
Yeah, you're like, what are some of these ingredients? Those don't look like
sawdust.
Those look like a bunch of Scrabble tiles that got thrown together. Why is it not say potato at all? Why? What did you use? What are you hiding?
It's not even a potato, anemic turnip. Brian, who would you choose out of the two to sell?
Mo's got to go. I mean, there's a couple different reasons. One, like Trevor said, you can't replace the goals that Allison has saved for us, and how many times he's saved our ass. I mean, I've had plenty of times where Mo has missed some chances, plenty more times out there that Allison's go there to save our ass. Two, you're going to get more money out of Mo than you're going to get out of a keeper. I think that if you're going to go down to say I got to save the club, hey, gotta go there. Gotta go with Mo.
Just a very, very, very quick one with no explanations needed. But if you were a Manchester United manager and you had to keep one of Onana or Harry Maguire, which one do you keep?
I'm keeping Harry Maguire. How else are you going to sell your 3XL hats?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Actually, yeah, that was a good point. Although isn't Onana's hair quite bouffanty?
No, but he's not good. Other than the fact that he got United to pay $60 million for him, he's not that good of a salesman. I don't think so.
Brian, who do you keep?
Oh my God! Well, both gift goals. So I mean, it's so hard. Can we just go down to 9 men and fucking sell both of them?
I think I'd
bring back Phil Jones.
I was going to say I'd keep Harry Maguire because at least he could also sell Halloween masks as well. Get more money on that.
It's all about the marketing side.
It's all about the bottom line. So before we go, just number one, the EPL fantasy show is on next. I believe Cosy might be on that, so you can see how badly he does. He's the me of this year on the fantasy show because I did dreadful last year, and I'm not doing it this year for that reason. I'm sulking. And then the second one is to make sure that you follow us on the social medias, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, the Bebo, the MySpace, Hotmail, Messenger. All of the social medias, graffiti on a wall, whichever one you want, but make sure you're you are joining in with the conversations, you're commenting, you're liking and subscribing, as Bickler says.
Subscribe, smash that like button.
We prefer to say.
Yeah, gently tap it.
Yeah.
I mean, gently tap it.
You don't have to be aggressive.
Computers are expensive things. Go easy. Don't be forceful in your liking and subscribing, but take care of your technological equipment.
Coming from the Thursday night where,
especially for the Thursday night crew, who knows what's going to happen?
You have to take care of your electronics because they'll turn on.
Yeah, they just hit the like and subscribe button for the Thursday night crew, and air traffic control goes out for a week. So be careful out there, people. But just make sure you like and subscribe. And tomorrow morning we have the Friday edition of the Morning Coffee Show, sponsored by Reckless Coffee. More coffee, less wreck, as we like to say on Thursday. And then we should have a pre and post match on Sunday for the Fulham game, and then the usual shows next week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We've so much content; it's not even funny. Unfortunately, us three are part of it, so we apologise in advance. But just remains to say, Trevor, thank you for being here tonight. And Brian, thank you for being here tonight. We hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. And we will talk to everybody next week for more of the technological nonsense from the ASTV crew, as the cool kids say. And it's just time to say goodbye. And here's the 70s porn music.